everybody, welcome and welcome back. For today's recipe, we're going to need some tomato sauce, diced tomatoes, shredded chicken, chicken broth, sliced cheese, and spaghetti noodles. And the first thing we're going to do is get our broth cooking. It was a little bit frozen. This is the broth that I got when I made the enchiladas in another video. I had saved it and put it in the freezer, so we're going to be able to use that today. So it's already good and seasoned and all that good stuff. So we're going to add our can of diced tomatoes and our can of tomato sauce. And then we're going to get that all mixed up and we're going to let that come to a boil. Now, I put probably with the chicken broth and then I added a little bit of water as well. Probably a total of around 6 cups of liquid, and then the tomato sauce and tomatoes. If you put too much liquid and then once you add all the other stuff, then you end up with way too much liquid, because for this recipe, we're going to cook the liquid all the way out. And that's how those spaghetti noodles soak up all the yumminess. So once we get that broth and tomato combo boiling, we're going to add our spaghetti noodles. And I break mine in half because it's just easier to eat it that way. You don't make as much of a mess all over your face with the spaghetti. So we're going to get those into the pot. Can y'all believe that it is already almost halfway through November? I'm not ready. Usually by this time, I'm ready for Christmas. I've bought, if not all, the majority of my gifts, and I don't think I have bought one gift yet this year. I have really got to get myself together. So we're going to stir these noodles around, and if you know how to cook spaghetti, you know you have to stir that first couple of minutes. You really got to watch it so they don't clump together and get all stuck into a big ball of spaghetti noodles. And then I just added a little bit of salt and pepper because, like I said, we had already seasoned that broth. And so it probably had enough seasoning in it. But since we added a little water, I went ahead and added a little bit more salt and pepper. And we're just going to keep stirring this until we get those noodles done, of course. And if y'all remember when when I made the enchilada video, I had a lot of chicken left over also. So I'd also put that in the freezer. And so we're also going to use that in this recipe. So we did a lot of reduce, reuse, recycle. Wasn't that a show or something that was on sometime? Some kind of saying? I don't know. But anyway, we're going to add this chicken, and it was still a little bit frozen. So you'll see that the water kind of stops boiling here in just a minute with my icy chicken in there. But you just put your chicken in there because you want it to also soak up all that juice, all that flavor, and that way all the flavors just kind of blend together, because you don't want this great tasting spaghetti with a bunch of bland chicken in there. So we're going to get this all mixed up, get it back to a boil. And then once we get our noodles pretty much cooked and a lot of this juice cooked out of here, we're going to add our sliced cheese. Now, I already know what some of y'all are thinking about my Kraft singles, but trust me, we don't really like super cheesy chicken spaghetti. Now, we like cheese, don't get me wrong, but in our spaghetti, we really didn't care for like a heavy cheese like Velveeta. And then I found for some reason in this spaghetti, if I use like a shredded cheese, or at least the kind that you get in the bag, it doesn't melt as good, so it's not as creamy. So a lot of trial and error over the years, and one very picky child. And this is what we settled on. And I'm telling y'all, my kids love this recipe. My niece, Erin, if you're watching, and you better be watching, she's in love with this recipe. So now she'll have the recipe. She can make her own chicken spaghetti. And, so it's really good, y'all. It's really, really good. It's not like stringy, cheesy like a lot of people's is. But if you do like, that baked spaghetti or something, you could always finish this off and put it in a pan. Sprinkle some shredded cheese on it and pop it in the oven if you want to, but you really don't need to. Once you've added your cheese, even though it looked like there was a lot of liquid left in there, we're going to take it off the heat, put the lid on it, and we're just going to let it sit. And usually I'll let it sit, depending on how much liquid I have left in my pot, for about 30, 45 minutes, sometimes even an hour. And then after it sits for a little while and it soaks up all that juice, this is what it looks like. And y'all, I'm telling you, this is some good stuff. If you open it after you've let it sit for a little bit and it's still kind of juicy, has a lot of that juice left in it, you can cover it right back up and let it sit a little bit longer. It will absorb all that juice, but just depending on how much you had left over will depend on how long you need to let it sit there to soak all that up. And man, I'm telling you, the flavor is so good. You can taste the cheese, but it doesn't really taste like a sliced cheese. So good. And y'all, this is what it looks like when it's done. And you can eat it just like this, or you can make some garlic bread, which is what we did this day, and have a little piece of garlic bread with it. It's really great leftover, and you can also freeze this, and that way you'll have some in the freezer for later if you need it. Give it a try and let me know what you think.